I want to thank Mr. Neal. I want to thank him and the leadership for organizing what amounts to the only hearing with expert witnesses that we have on this bill. Mr. Neal started out the conversation at the committee with the statement that this was a lost opportunity. And as is evident in all of your testimonies, that clearly is the case. This was a lost opportunity for the country. It's one that we hope that we can regain. And I want to thank both Will and Brenda for your testimony. I think that's the kind of anecdotal evidence that we need to take all across this country. But I want to turn my focus and question to our two expert witnesses on the economy. And it seems to me, outside of the fact that we could address the other side, seems to have amnesia when it comes to the national debt, or only seems to want to talk about it when a Democrat is in the White House. It seems to me that this apparent lack of focus on the deficit was somewhat disguised with almost a Cheshire cat grin on the part of someone you know or are familiar with in Grover Norquist, with the underlying theme of this being that what they're going to do is cut entitlements. Now, I rarely disagree with my colleague, Mr. Thompson, and I know where he was going with the idea of entitlements, but I believe that Social Security and Medicare are the insurance that people actually pay for. So when we find that in this provision, that because of PAYCO rules instituted by Democrats, that there will be an automatic cut without a vote having ever to take place into Medicare of $25 billion a year, I would ask our experts, how would you try to rectify that? And what is your sense whether or not this is a very specific goal to go after entitlements? We're shocked by the fact that our colleagues then turn around and said as well, we're going to be going after entitlements, not the infrastructure, not anything else that will put people back to work, but after entitlements. Your sense about what this means to the overall health of Medicare?
Sure, and I want to thank you for your Social Security legislation, which I think is one of the most thoughtful proposals on Social Security and our retirement security future. In terms of, the simplest thing would be to not pass this bill. If you don't pass this bill, you don't get a Medicare cut. The second most desirable thing would be to have revenue increases that would pay to turn off that sequester for Medicare. If you can't get either of those, I think you would have to figure out among the third best solutions what the least bad would be.
Yeah, I don't think there's any good answer to that question. I think that in the case of Medicare, the issue, and Medicaid, is the issue of the growth in healthcare costs. I actually think we made some progress on that. I thought, the Affordable Care Act, at least the evidence that we have, is suggestive. We don't have proof, but suggestive that it was working and that it was slowing the growth in healthcare costs and thus reducing the long-term costs of Medicare and Medicaid. That's the best kind of entitlement reform, right? I mean, especially in those two programs, that's where our focus should be. It's how do we make the healthcare system work more efficiently, effectively, deliver the kind of care we need, but at a lower cost. And, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, seemed to be going down that path. So trying to preserve that as best as possible in the current political context would, I think, be helpful. And that's the kind of reform we need. It's not, cutting benefits. It's figuring out how to deliver better benefits, more benefits at a lower cost. That's the solution. And it's not like it's not doable. It's very doable. I mean, that's what our energy should be spent on.
Thank you. I yield back.